بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. أما بعد، قال الله الحكيم في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فسيكفيكم الله والله سميع عليم. صدق الله العلي العظيم. رسالة salawat, please. Today is the 1st of Muharram. And tonight begins a journey. This journey is a journey of the heart, a movement of tears, a journey of wilaya. Sayyid al-Shuhada is not just a person, but Sayyid al-Shuhada is an institution. Sayyid al-Shuhada symbolizes Islam and all of goodness. Tonight, therefore, as we begin, understand that all of Islam is encapsulated within this movement of Sayyid al-Shuhada. We have 10 nights, and these 10 nights are sufficient for us to change the entire movement of our destiny. If today you're sitting here, it's because Imam Hussein has brought you here. From whatever you were doing, in whatever situation you were, you've come here because you've been invited to come here. Last night, as the moon of the 1st of Muharram came, this entire nation again changed its ways. An entire year's gone by. But you notice there's a yearning in the heart of the believer for this Muharram to come. Eid comes and Eid goes, but there's an anticipation that this Muharram is coming, and this connection with Sayyid al-Shuhada becomes even stronger. Look, remember one thing. As these days begin to go, as these years begin to go, this connection with Imam Hussein should increase, in particular in our life. The further we go away from 1400 years, you may find that slowly but surely, some individuals start losing that connection. We fall into the fitness of the time. But remember, the most important thing that we have is Hussein ibn Ali to revive the hearts of the people. This connection with Imam Hussein becomes even the more important. But really the question is, how do you connect? Here the 8th Imam says, he says, when the 1st of Muharram came, I found a huzn in the face of my father, the 7th Imam. This sadness increased, and it increased, and it increased, until it got to the 9th of Muharram. On the 9th night, he says, that my father would be in a state of huzn and baqa. All he would be doing is crying, and then the day of Ashura would come, and he would be sad and he'd be crying. This tells you something. This tells you these 10 days are specifically there only for you to focus on that pain of Sayyid al-Shuhada. Nothing more than that. You see what happens, especially in the years that have passed, this decade or so, you find that there are many things that distract us away from Imam Hussein. And you'll notice as well, this year is no different to any other. There's fitnas that rise. People fall into arguments. People fall into politics. People talk about all sorts of things. But what began in Sham was what? the fadail of Ahlul Bayt and the Masaib of Sayyid al-Shuhada. That's something which needs to go on. And that's something which needs to go into your children. There's a light that was lit on the night of Ashura, which you call Sham-e Ghariban. That light was lit, a candle was lit. That candle went from generation to generation to generation. Until today, in 2025, this candle has come to Dar Abbas. It's for you to ignite that candle and to take that candle to the next generations. How do you do that? You must make sure the heart of a person bends towards Sayyid al-Shuhada. For that to take place, you've got to understand the mizaj of imamah. What is imamah itself? What is wilayah itself? What are the qualities of imamah? What is the qualities of wilayah? What is the culture of Ashura? This needs to go on. But for you to do that, mizaj of imamah needs to be there. If this mizaj is not understood, then you've understood nothing. Bear this in mind. Remember one thing, Allah is Rahman. Allah is also Ar-Rahim. Ar-Rahman is a mercy for everyone. Rahmani of Hussein brings you to this majlis. But not everybody utilizes it, because Ar-Rahim of Allah is only for a couple of people. Those couple of people you'll see in this majlis. You'll see as this time goes on. You'll see their hearts bend in such a way that the minute that they come and they sit here, you'll see that tears come in their eyes, huzn comes on their face. The more this happens, the more you realize Sayyid al-Shuhada's connection with you is increasing. Now let me put it another way to you. Fatima al-Zahra's dua is with you. The journey is a long one. We've got 9 nights, 8 nights or so to go through the discussion. This wilayah of Ahlul Bayt, what is it? What is this mizaj of imamah? What is this culture of Ghadir? What takes us to Ashura? All of these things are important. But look, let me start off from here. They say one day the 8th Imam was walking, and he comes forward and he meets a person called Rayyan ibn Shabib. He looks towards Rayyan ibn Shabib. He says to him, Ibn Shabib, are you fasting today? 1st of Muharram, he bumps into the Imam. Rayyan ibn Shabib says, no Mawla, should I be fasting? Imam looks towards him, he says, listen, on the 1st of Muharram, fast. The reason being is this, Zachariah fasted, and Allah on the 1st of Muharram gave him a son. Immediately Imam is teaching you asrar. If you want a ni'mah at the beginning of Muharram, Imam is saying fast. We're not talking about Ashura or the 9th of Muharram. We're talking about the 1st of Muharram. It says fast on the 1st. Why? Zachariah was giving a son. That Zachariah was told that he wasn't going to have a son, right? Or at least he thought he wasn't because of his age. His Zachariah fasts. Allah, through the sadaqah of Imam Hussein, gives him a son. Now I've said this. For you to think, why have I said Imam Hussein for? Imam Hussein came many years later. I'll explain it to you in a minute. 1st of Muharram comes, Ibn Shabib is there. Imam tells him, he says, are you fasting? Fast on this day. Next year on the 1st of Muharram, those people who don't have children, make an intention. I'm going to fast on the 1st, in the way Zachariah did. Then remember also the dhikr of Kaf Ha Ya Ain Sad. Why? Because if you look at this entire story of Zachariah in the Quran, it begins with these huruf, Kaf Ha Ya Ain Sad. Go to the 12th Imam and see. There's some traditions of the 12th Imam. One of them is this. Ibn Baboya narrates this. He says, what is Kaf Ha Ya Ain Sad? He says, Kaf, these huruf that were taught to Zachariah. Remember, there's secrets in the huruf as well in the Quran. If only me and you understood them. For example, Kaf Ha Ya Ain Sad, if it was recited a particular amount of times and recited against your enemy, Allah would overcome your enemy. You'd be ghalib, they'd become maghloob. For example, there's isma a'zam within this. Here Kaf, Imam says, Shias understand, Kaf stands for Karbala. Here the Kaf stands for Karbala. The Ha is the annihilation of Ahlul Bayt on the day of Ashura. Ain is the Atash of Hussein. The Ya, for example, is Yazid. The Saad here represents Sadiq al-Wa'da, that the truth, Imam is the truth, his Wa'da is the truth, his Qawl is the truth. He will intercede for you on the Day of Judgment. For that intercession to come, you've got to come here to the majlis of Imam Hussein and shed those tears for Imam Hussein. In the same way, there's another hadith as well. Here the Imam says, this Kafa, Ya, Ain, Sad are the names of Allah as well. Kaf is because it's Al-Kafi. Why? Allah is Kafi for you. In fact, Ahlul Bayt are Kafi for you. This is what the Imam is saying in a hadith. Kaf, Ha, Ya, Ha, Hadi. Why? Ahlul Bayt guide you. Allah is Al-Hadi. And so forth. Sabr of Imam Hussein comes into this as well. And so forth. His Zakaria is taught some huruf. And I don't want to go deep inside the discussion of the huruf at this stage. What I want to tell you is this. Because of these huruf, Zakaria was given a ni'mah. That ni'mah, when it came into this world, Zakaria cried. Zakaria cried for Imam Hussein. Because of these huruf, there was a manifestation in his heart that he came to realize something was going to come. So therefore he prayed to Allah that the same way that Hussein ibn Ali is going to be killed, let my son be killed like that. And as you notice, Zakaria's son, Yahya, John the Baptist, the way that he was slaughtered is in front of you. Here the Imam then begins. He says to him, Ibn al-Shabib, if ever you feel like crying, cry over my Jad Hussein. Because Hussein was slaughtered like a sheep is slaughtered. How Kareem is Ahlul Bayt. How Kareem is Zahra. She knows you're not crying for Imam Hussein. She knows you're not crying over her son. Just the intention is sufficient for Ahlul Bayt to hide whatever reason that you're crying and to accept you. This is why Hussein is ghareeb. This is why Hussein is madloom. Why? Because we don't cry for Hussein purely either. Many a time people are here sitting here crying over themselves. But the minute that the intention is made, immediately what you see is Zahra closes her eyes as if she closes her eyes to what you're crying over. Immediately that's accepted. But the intention needs to be there. Bear this in mind. Here the 8th Imam is saying, you may have seen many people who are madloom in the world. Cry over them, but make the intention that you're crying over my Jad Hussein. Today each one of you is here to cry over that Hussein. Remember, everything begins with tears. This is an Ajib system that Allah has created. There's no other system like this. When Muharram comes, you feel in your heart this happiness almost. Why? Because we're greeting Imam Hussein. There's this energy that overflows, but this energy is linked to your tears. And many people have trial and tribulation. But know that trial and tribulation's solution is that when you come here to the dhikr, to the majlis of Sayyid al-Shuhada. So tonight the most important thing is this. Take your heart back to Hussein. Tonight focus on this, so that as these nights carry on, you're not embarrassed in front of Zahra. A person who's embarrassed is a person who can't cry for Imam Hussein. Imagine if the Masaib of Hussein comes, and those people who are crying from now are lofty. Their maqam, Allah knows what it is. They say that ulama have said there's certain people, it's as if Hussein's hand is over their head. Special lutf of Allah is with them. What is that lutf? That when they come to the majlis, all they're waiting for is a person to say Hussein, and you see those tears come. And as these nights go, you'll see. As these nights go, that heart begins to become even more drenched in the ishq of Hussein. Tears flow freely until the day of Ashura comes. That you don't even need anyone to sit on a member. The minute that you walk in, you start to cry. That huzn that the 8th Imam speaks about, that baqa that the 8th Imam speaks about, overflows in you. So for these 10 days, forget your life. Forget your work. For these 10 days, focus solely on this, because it's a journey. If this journey is utilized, then you'll see that your ma'rifah increases of the Imam and the nur of the Imam shines in your heart. Remember this, mizaj of Imamat you should know. Otherwise we're finished. What separates us from others is what? The fact that we've connected, or we have a connection to the Imam. What destroys our connection is the ghiba, the slander. For example, the politics that we play. And you notice in our community, in our society, that politics is ever increasing. Ever since the dawn of social media, you've seen that you'll commit more sins in an hour than your ancestors did in a lifetime. Unverified information that people are sharing. That in itself, unverified information is haram. On WhatsApp, people are sending things which are unverified. Half an hour later, they realize this was wrong. 6 months later, they realize this was wrong. What is this in essence? What are you spreading? These are major sins. These major sins darken our heart to connect to Imam Hussein. If not anything, for 10 nights, just forget about all of these things. Look, the whole markaz of Tashayyu is Fatima alayhi salam. And that nur of Zahra will go. If you make mistakes in these 10 days, remember one thing. Shaitan is more active now. Fitnas will rise. This is only the first of Muharram. You'll see there will be people targeting each other. Unfortunately, there will be things on the mimbar that will be said, which one will be slanting to one and the other one will be saying against the other. It happens more so. Inshallah, it doesn't do, but as you know, it does. These are all ways of distractions that takes you away from the wilayah. And your responsibility is to connect onto that wilayah so that you can go forward. Bear this in mind. Something started in Ghadir. Look, I'm going to give you just one small thing so that you understand, because this discussion is going to be lengthy as we go from night to night. One thing and that's it. You'll understand the rabt in a minute. One thing. They say that one of the khulafa comes to the 5th Imam and he wants to insult the 5th Imam. He wants to put the 5th Imam down. So he says, let's go and let's do bow and arrow. Let's do archery. And he gets people to fire at this, you could say the bullseye, whatever it is. He says to the Imam, would you like to fire as well? The people didn't realize, they thought the Imam has never fired this. And the Imam hadn't. He takes the arrow and he fires it. That arrow goes directly into the middle. So they look up and they say, Mawla, when did you learn this? He says, don't you know on the day of Ghadir, when wilayah was given to Majid Amir al-Mu'mineen, what did Allah say? Al-yawm akmaltu lakum dinakum wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati. He says Allah completed all the ni'mas on this day, or the ni'mah was completed on the day of Ghadir. He says that we are the successors of Ghadir. All of the kamalat of all of creation are found within us. Why? Because of wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen. This is imamat. There was one ni'mah, in fact, not plural, there was one ni'mah. If you look at the verse, Allah completed His ni'mah, which is the wilayah of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Warith of that wilayah has all of the kamalat because Allah completed them. So understand just that one small thing. The Imam has all of the kamalat of creation inside of him. And if you can attach to that kamal, this wilayah, then know that that overflow comes onto you as well. This is why you notice some of your Shias, for example, look at what they have. For example, when Allama Amini went to write Al-Ghadir, when he went to India, in Lucknow and the Nasiriya libraries at Deobandi, comes to him and he says, these Shias of India are ghali. They say that Ali could pray 1,000 units of prayers in one night. Allama Amini was drenched in wilayah. He wrote Al-Ghadir. His right leg was paralyzed. He used to drag his leg as he used to walk. He got up and he says, 1,000? You don't understand what barakah is. You don't understand what wilayah is. Ali, forget Ali. Me, the slave of Ali can do 1,000. Allahu Akbar, he began, and 1,000 units he recited in one night. when you link yourself onto this, you come to realize there was no chat GPT for Allama Majlisi to recite wrote 110 volumes, 500,000 traditions of the Ahlul Bayt in a lifetime. To gather that is impossible. If today you were to go into a field study like that, it's very difficult. But in those days we'd have to travel across the world. Why is it? Because he's connected to that wilaya, he's connected to that Ghadir. Hence Allama Amini wrote his book and he named it Al-Ghadir. Allah says, Al-Yawma Akmaltu Lakum Dinak. I've completed your deen today on the wilayat of Ali. From Adam to Khatam, all the kamalat of the Anbiya was complete on the day of Ghadir. So Allah says, وَأَتْمَمْتُ عَلَيْكُمْ نِعْمَتِي وَرَزِيتَكُمْ وَالْإِسْلَامَ دِينًا. Islam became complete with this wilaya. So bear this in mind. What are you here to do? Personify that wilaya, not close it. Not extinguish the nur of wilaya, to make sure that nur of wilaya shines. Because when that nur of wilaya shines from alam and mawara, you'll see that when that nur comes, then all of a sudden things open up. You come to understand how Sheikh Bahai was Sheikh Bahai. Muqaddas al-Dabili was Muqaddas al-Dabili. Said Mahdi Bahr al-Ulum was Mahdi Bahr al-Ulum. All of these people got to where they got to because of this wilaya of Ahlul Bayt. The minute that you start connecting to Sayyid al-Shuhada, an overflow comes onto you. The question is this: whose heart is going to connect? Forget me sitting here. This is not about me, it's about your heart. Remember one thing: when you've walked in here, Hussein is that ghareeb that takes all of your pain away for these 45 minutes. And you'll notice the minute that you walked in, whatever sorrow you were feeling, whatever pain that you were feeling, all of a sudden is gone. For this small moment in time, Hussein takes your pain. But just remember, there's a hadith, Kamil al-Ziyarat. There's a number, there's 7 qualities when you go into the ziyarah of Imam Hussein. One of them is that dua is accepted under the dome of Imam Hussein. 6th Imam has said. If you can't get there, then come to the majlis of Imam Hussein. Ka'annahu, under this dome that you have in front of, on top of you, it's as if your dua will be accepted. You know why? Because malaika are coming down. You've seen miracles on this ground of Imam Hussein in this majlis. Disabled people have begun to walk, eyesight's come, all sorts of things. Why? Because of this. Try one day, put your hand on this ground and say, Allah, for the haqq of the majlis of Imam Hussein, fulfill my du'as. Zahra's left this open for you. You know why she has done? Because she's given a favor to the Shia. Let them come, let them ask. We Ahlul Bayt will take you across the line. With this in mind, we Ahlul Bayt will take you across this line. In one night, if Hur's destiny was changed, no, in half a day Hur's destiny was changed. If Imam Hussein had never met Hur on the way to Karbala, today you'd be saying Hur is the biggest enemy of Ahlul Bayt. But even the biggest enemy, when Hussein ibn Ali touches their chest, then their heart changes. This is what Imam is. You want Hussein to touch your heart today. Bear this in mind. In the way that Hur's heart was changed. Today each one of us are here because we're sinners. We're sinners. We make mistakes. We commit sin. But coming to the majlis, 8th Imam says to Ibn Shabib, when you cry over my Jad Hussein, all of your major and minor sins are wiped out. So you're here to cry. The milaq of tears isn't arif and bahaq. The ziyarat of Imam Hussein is, whoever cries for Imam Hussein, their sins are wiped out and it becomes like a nur. If you want ma'rifah to increase, cry for Hussein. Right? Focus. Focus. Don't let these times go. This time's not going to come back again. There's a ni'mah and there's a rizq that comes in the 10 days of Muharram. If you miss this even by one day, then bear this in mind. This will never come back again. Next year there'll be another rizq. Take this risk of these 10 days. Don't miss it. If you think you can only come at the time of Musibah of Imam Hussein, you miss the risk. Come in and sit here. Some of the greatest reciters alive, if you notice them, they sit here for that risk. I can give you their names. some of the greatest reciters that you know, Allah's made their voices such that when they go to Karbala, look how many people are crying. I've seen them myself, they can't understand English, but it's in my mind. I remember even when we were meant to be, one of them, I won't mention his name, but you know his name. He's a good friend of mine, he's a good friend of yours. I remember in Fatimiyya many years ago, as I came onto the mimbar, he was walking in, somebody said, come outside, let's drink a cup of tea. He says, no, he's reciting, he says, but you don't understand English. He says, I don't need to understand English, all I know that the name of Zahra is going to be mentioned. Rizq comes, the more respect that you give the majlis of Sayyid al-Shuhada. Bear this in mind. Look, Maulana is sitting, he doesn't need to sit here. He's going to recite in an hour's time. His lecture is going to be different from mine. His is in Urdu, mine's in English. Why? He understands the maraf of what Hussein is. He knows it doesn't matter what language it is. People always say, well, our children don't understand the language. When you were younger, did you understand the language? When you were 4 years old, even if it's in English, you wouldn't understand it for. Why did your parents take you to this institution? Thank your mothers who brought you here. Because when you sit here, there's a nur. Today they've made all sorts of different things. Put them in the playpen, put them outside, give them chips, crisps, whatever it may be. Dilute their mind? No. Bring them here, teach them the adab of ishq of Hussein. Bear this in mind. Look, let me tell you something. Ayatollah Sayyid Abul Hassan Isfahani was a great marja. Right? Let me explain to you, I wasn't going to even mention this, but now that you're here in front of me, it's coming into my mind, I'm going to mention it to you. Whatever's coming, let it come. Sayyid Abul Hassan Isfahani, he was a Sayyid verified by the Imam. Not everybody is verified, by the way. Now those genetic tests which are taking place, 90% have fallen off. And that's within Shiism. The others have all fallen off in the subcontinent. Right now that the tests are taking place. In fact, what they say at the moment is that at least half of the Sa'ada in the Arab world of Wassalam, according to genetic tests. But I'm not here to discuss that. You'll know inside of your own self, because Ishq Hussein teaches you that. You'll see this, you'll see this. If somebody is Sahih Nasl, you'll see their eyes, you'll see their face. You don't need to tell them. Ishq of Hussein will tell you. Anyway, put that to one side. Sayyid Abul Hassan is, Ayatollah Araki says, Sheikh Araki. Ayatollah Araki was a marja, died at maybe the age of 100. If not more than that. Now that we're on Ayatollah Araki, let me explain this to you properly. We have some time, at least 5-7 minutes, so let me explain it. And then the rest at another stage we'll discuss. Ayatollah Araki's daughter wanted to go on Hajj once. She said, I don't have a mahram. She said, I don't have a mahram. I don't know what's going to happen to me. Ayatollah Araki gave her a dhikr. He died in 96, 97. His daughter, I don't know if she's alive now, but she was when some of our friends asked her. Ayatollah Araki says, recite this dhikr. When you get to Mecca, Ya Alimu Ya Hafiz. Right? Recite this. She says that I went and I recited this because I saw the rush. I was afraid. I'm the daughter of a marja. Maybe a man will come brush past me. We learn from Zainab that a man shouldn't be brushing past us like this. Right? If a follower of the Ahlul Bayt's woman is brushed, what goes on the heart of Amir al-Mu'mineen, you don't know. At least the father of everyone. Remember this. At least Rasulullah said, me and Ali are the fathers of this nation. Ali's your father. When they've said it, they've said it. Every Shia is the son of Amir al-Mu'mineen. It doesn't mean biological. You don't need to be. When Ali says, when Rasulullah says, you're my children, you're my children. So when a woman of Ahlul Bayt's, a Shia, someone brushes or somebody does something, it hurts the heart of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Here she says, look at all of these men. Imagine if something happens to me. Somebody does something to me. There's so many people. She begins to recite this dhikr. She says, who? My father taught me. He was known as Salman al-Zaman. She says, all of a sudden I see a group of people coming. There was a man in ihram, his face was nur. His hair was down to his shoulders. He says, come into my circle, halaka, you'll be protected. He says to her, you hold my ihram from the back. I will walk in the front. She says, I knew who this man was. I got up, I put my head down. Tears came into my eyes. When Yusuf al-Zahra comes and the world knows. She says, I held the back, he was covered, all these people were covering and Nur was covering. I did my tawaf, not one person could even come in the vicinity of this. Marja of the time is teaching his daughter dhikr. That dhikr I've told you. Imagine this. This is what Ahlul Bayt's majlis is about. You don't know what treasures you have. You don't know what Ahlul Bayt's treasures are. I've told you, take it, recite it, do what you want. Here she says, I held on. I couldn't look at this nur, but I was holding from the back. He didn't look at me, he was walking at the front. He didn't look at, and he went around the Kaaba. I went around the Kaaba. No one touched me, so relaxed I went around the Kaaba. This Ayatollah Iraqi who gave that dhikr says, he says that when I was younger, when Mirza Shirazi passed away, when Naini passed away, he says, Abul Hasan Isfahani became the marja. In my heart I thought to myself, I'm more knowledgeable than him. But I didn't say anything until a day came when a big problem came in my mind. So I did tawassul to the 12th Imam, that I wanted him to answer it. He said that when I did this tawassul, a time came when a person came to me and said, he said, there's a tent there, come quickly, the Imam is there. He says, when I got there, for whatever reason it was too late. When I got there I saw that the Imam wasn't there. He says, but the naib of the Imam is there. Go inside and ask him. He says, when I walked in, I saw Ayatollah said, Abul Hasan Isfahani sitting there. He taught me the answer to it, but he says, don't say anything. Tomorrow when I met Ayatollah Abul Hasan, the day came tomorrow, he says, be quiet, don't say anything that you saw in the tent. This is Abul Hasan Isfahani. This Ayatollah, all of this story for one thing. And that one thing is this. Ayatollah Abul Hasan Isfahani, in the time of the Shah, the first Shah, when all of the hijab was banned, when all of the prayers were being taken away, the adhan was being banned, Islam was being removed from society, they came to Ayatollah Abul Hasan Isfahani and they said, Maulana, they said, you're the marj of the time, you're the Sayyid of the time. Why are you doing this Ashura and the processions and all of these things? Agha, this is just mustahab. Shah wants to ban hijab and prayers and fasting and Quran and everything umumi. He wants to ban all of these things. Why are you stuck onto this? This is mustahab. Let it go. Maybe after he dies, we can reinstitutionalize everything else. Ayatollah Abul Hasan Isfahani said, son, he says, brother, you don't know my son. You don't know my son. Maybe this is not wajib, but this mustahab makes sure all of the wajibs are protected. If this azar falls, everything falls. So make sure wherever the majlis of Imam Hussein is, come to this majlis. Make sure this pillar, if in those days where it was to be banned, the Shia made sure that this was alive, then today you have the freedom to do whatever you want. There shouldn't be a time when somebody's sitting at home. Yes, I know we have live feed and Zooms and everything else that goes out. But remember this, the barakah that you get here is not the barakah that you get there. Over there, they're just watching, but over here, Zahra's nur is coming. It's a difference. What are we? We're here to jazbul qulub, basically. We're here to catch the hearts of Ahlul Bayt. How do you catch it? When you come and you sit, and when you come and you cry. Bear this in mind. Look, my time is going. 10 o'clock, there's another majlis. I'm not going to take too much of your time because I know it's a long day. But what I will say to you is this. I wish I had time to go into this hadith of Ibn Shabib. Just one more thing, and then I'll conclude. Imam says something. Imam says, Ibn Shabib, if you want to be with us on that day, secret again, if you want to be with us, Asrar of Al Muhammad, understand the mizaj of the Imam for God's sake. If you want to be with us on that day, then give la'an on the killers of Hussein. You've not understood the power of la'an on the enemies of Imam Hussein. People, oh no, you shouldn't do this. No. Just remember this. In these 10 nights, give salam on Hussein and give la'an on the killers of Hussein. But in the other order, Ayatollah Qadi said that from the first night, start every night 1,000 times say Ya Hussein. Why? Why? Look at it and see, recite it and see. Hussein is Isma Adam, Hussein is Kimia, heart changes. Qadi is saying, teacher of Bahjad, Allama Tabatabai, Ali Muhammad Burujurdi, Ahmad Kashmiri, all the great Ayatollah Khoui, all the great Urafa of today, or if you take all of them, their teacher is one, said Ali Qadi. So Ali Qadi says, from the first night of Muharram, begin to recite 1,000 times Ya Hussein. By the time you get to 10 Ya Hussein, it's like your heart is shaking. Even now Hussein's name makes you tremble. 1,400 years have gone. You don't know how he looks like, you don't know how tall Imam Hussein was, you know nothing about Imam Hussein. But the minute you say Ya Hussein, heart begins to tremble. You can see the lutf of Hussein is coming. I can see your faces. Zahra loves you, that's why you cry for. Can a person ever cry for a person 1,400 years ago? Believe me, you wouldn't cry for your grandparents now if they've died. Maybe 1 or 2 people may, but your great-grandparents, nobody does. Hussein ibn Ali begin to cry. You're crying. I've not even said anything yet. Why? Because Zahra's dua is working. Honestly, what a karima she was. Shall I tell you something? I wish I could say anymore. I can't say anymore. But the one thing I will say is this. Have you ever seen a mother? What does a mother want for a child? Life. May my son be happy. May my daughter be happy. That's what a mother wants. You know, right next to you are women sitting there. Your mothers that raised you. The minute that you fell when you were a child, you could see, Ya Ali Mother. They'd go running to lift you up. And they took you to this majlis when they were sick. Those people who are sitting here, if your mothers are not in this world anymore, dedicate a tear to them. You don't need to write huge lists to say recite Fatiha, Fatiha, Fatiha. You don't need to do that. The minute that the intention is made, understand mizaj of imamat. Automatically all of your marhumeen are being blessed. Why this majlis is about Sayyid al-Shuhada. So can you imagine that one lady who gave life to Tashayyu? It says when she was pregnant with Sayyid al-Shuhada, she would cry a lot. You know why? One day somebody asked, why do you cry for? She said, what can I do, Father? What can I do? This child inside of me, when we're alone, it says to me, Ya Ummi, Ana Gharib. Says, Mother, I feel lonely. Only Hussein feels lonely, right? Nobody else does. Maybe I've come from far away, but sitting here, I don't feel lonely. Why? Because Hussein's taken that away from. But if you look at Hussein, Zahra would hug her belly. She would hug her stomach. Why? Because her son was feeling lonely. Ya Ummi ana gharib. My mother, I feel gharib, I feel lonely. And then all of a sudden he was saying, Ya Ummi ana madloom. Mother, I'm a victim. I'm madloom. Again she would cry. Says, Ya Ummi ana atshan. Mother, I feel thirsty. Right? I feel thirsty. Imagine if somebody calls their mother and they say, "Mother, I feel thirsty." Even if a mother's old, she still get up and she try and get her child water. His Zahra's hugging her stomach. You know what happens? She says to Rasulullah, "Why does this child say things like this?" You know what the replies? He says, "Zahra, when this child comes into the world, a time will come where he'll be killed on the plains of Karbala. His blood will be scattered all over the earth of Karbala. Wherever that blood goes becomes khaq shifa. Turba becomes shifa." Zahra says, "Then I don't want a son like that. Why is he going to be?" He says, "No, remember, because of this Zahra, my religion will survive." Ja'far al-Mujtahidi says, had it not been for Ja'far al-Mujtahidi, I wouldn't narrate this. You know what he says? He says on the day of Ashura, from Adam to Khatam, all the Anbiya come. Rasulullah says, had his arms shirt folded like this, and he was saying, "Hussein, go into the battlefield." Why? Maybe Allah will change destiny. Bada happens. If that happens, it becomes problematic. Son, you go give your life quickly. Why? Because by you giving your life, it will give life to Islam. Bear this in mind. Here there's a mother. She's holding on. Then the baby is born. She begins to cry. They rejoice and then they cry. Why? Rasulullah comes. Rasulullah cries, Ahlul Bayt cry. Question is asked, "Why are you crying for, father?" He says, "Jibreel came to me." So what did Jibreel say? Jibreel said that Hussein of yours will be slaughtered. She lifts up her head. Only a mother's ishq, right? She says, "Ya Rasulullah, father, are you going to be there on that day?" He says, "Zahra, I'm not going to be there on that day." Brothers, Muharram has begun now. Now it's your opportunity to give condolences to Zahra. He says, "Is Abul Hassan going to be there?" He says, "Abul Hassan's not going to be there on that day." He says, "Is Hassan going to be there?" He says, "Hassan's not going to be there either." She says, "Am I going to be there?" He says, "You're not going to be there." So she says one thing. She says, "Father, then who's going to cry over my Hussein?" On the day of Arba'in, you've seen, right? After Asr time, you've noticed, when the entire haram is packed, you'll notice a group of women come in crying. And those women lost their sons in the war. But they're saying one thing. They're saying, "Zahra, today we're not going to cry over our sons." Why? Because you weren't there to cry over Hussein. Hussein had no mother to cry over him. Today we're going to come to cry over Hussein. You've already noticed the minute that I said that, mothers sitting on the other side are crying today. Why is that? Because Zahra wasn't there to cry over Hussein. At that moment, you know what happens? At that moment, Zahra says, "Ya Rasulullah, who's going to cry over my Hussein?" Rasulullah replies, "Allah is going to create a nation who's going to cry over your Hussein." Then she turns around and she says, "Then what are you going to give them then when they cry over my Hussein?" Rasulullah says, "Shifa." Amir al-Mu'mineen says, "Kawthar." Hassan says, "Shifa." Zahra says, "Then I'll give them something as well." Zahra, what is that? She replies and she says, "I will not go into heaven until all of the azadar of Hussein who cry over Hussein don't go to." Today is the 1st of Muharram. Inshallah, as the nights go on, we'll recite. Mas'ib of Hussein is there. Just Ya Hussein is enough for people to cry. I wish I could recite, but I'll just recite one thing and that's it. One thing and that's it. It's your naseeb then. Allah accept your tears. Allah accept your hajat. Shall I tell you one thing? This one thing is here. Zahra is leaving this world. They say Amir al-Mu'mineen walks in and he sees the lifeless body of his wife which is there. They say there was one time when Ali showed a miracle that Zahra's life came back again, soul came back. When Amir al-Mu'mineen walked in, he saw the lifeless body, the ruh had gone. He looked at the body of Zahra, he says, for the sake of my haqq, come back. Says Zahra opens her eyes. Why? Ali's taken something. That is the haqq of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Zahra comes back. Amir al-Mu'mineen takes the head, puts it in his lap. He begins to cry. Tears begin to fall. Zahra's lifeless hand is raised. She begins to wipe the tears of Amir al-Mu'mineen on her face. Ali says, Zahra, why do you do this? She replies and she said, my father said, when a madhloom man cries, dua becomes mustajab. She says, Ali, I don't know anyone more madhloom than you. Who is saying that? The one whose rib was broken, the one whose face was slapped, the one whose back was wounded, the one whose... She's saying, Ali, I don't know anyone more madhloom than you. And then she continues and she says, Ali, bring me that one thing that on that day when I was to be married to you, when Jibreel was coming and asking, what is your mahr? I remain quiet. Jibreel says, Allah is asking, what is your mahr? At that moment I said, Shafa, for all of those people who cry over Hussein. She says, when that thing came from heaven, when that tahrir came from heaven, I put it somewhere. Bring it so that on the day of judgment I can intercede for all of my Brothers, you've not done the haqq for Zahra. Shall I tell you something though? I'll tell you this. It says that the time of Asr came and Zahra goes into a room. She says to Ayman, whatever happens when Hassan and Hussein come, give them food, feed them. Know that I'll have left this world when you hear the tasbih stop. Hassan and Hussein come. What day is it? It's the 1st of Muharram. What night is it? That night that you remember Zahra. It says that they say Hassan and Hussein come. 2 children come. Ayman says, sons, eat food. They reply one thing. They said, Ayman, you know, as children we've never ever eaten without our mother Zahra. She says, but your mother told us. He says, no. They say Hassan and Hussein go into a room. When they went into a room, our mother was lying there in sajda, lifeless body, soul had gone. One grabbed the neck, the other one grabbed the feet. Imam Hassan slowly, tears are in his eyes. But Imam Hussein, he says something. At this moment he's shocked. Eventually a time comes. He says, mother, answer me. No voice comes from the lifeless body of Zahra. Eventually a time comes when he says, mother, if you don't say something, if you don't reply, I'm gonna cry, mother. I'm gonna cry, mother. All of a sudden, tradition says, a voice comes from the body. She replies, but she says something. Hussein, remember, Asr time was. I answered you, Hussein. Asr time was, Hussein. I answered you. But a time will come, Hussein, when it'll be Asr time. You're gonna answer me. You're gonna be alone and I'm gonna call you. Ashura day comes. Asr time comes. Hussein is alone. A mother comes onto the maqtal and she says, son, you're not alone today. Your mother Zahra is here. But Hussein, answer me. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad.